is powered by DART, Delaware's transit service, moving forward.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Agenda. It's been a week or so since we've seen you, but let me tell you something. Politics have not stopped. Not only that, we're still living up to our promise of bringing you another season of great discussions. Today, no difference. No difference whatsoever. We're going to be talking about financial literacy and the need for it to the point where it is going to be legislation, just not a suggestion in our schools, but legislation. What does that mean? There's no choice. We have to do better. And that's going to be House Bill 203. Now, I don't want to get the names wrong because these are some strong names here today. We have Representative Jeff Hilovsky. I hope I got that right. Welcome
Hilovsky.
to Hilovsky. Thank you. Now, here's the big one. Mark
Olazagasti.
Close enough.
It took me to fourth grade to learn how to spell it, so I give you a pass.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the agenda. This is big news coming through here. I saw that your bill has already made it through committee. Am I right?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So House Bill 203, financial literacy in our schools, the necessity for it. I don't want to give it all away, but I want you to tell us a little bit about it and a little bit about yourself.
Well, for years, I practiced optometry, and one of the things I noticed is that kids were basically agnostic about so many things, and so I started teaching leadership, which led me to add some sections about financial literacy because that was a real issue that the kids didn't get. And then when I got the election, surprise, surprise. I said, well, let's put this into law, and I thought there would be zero opposition because this is just such a common sense thing that is so necessary because the statistics support that.
So one thing that I've learned, not just from the agenda but from life itself, is that one solid thing is that common sense isn't common, right? What our experiences we cannot place onto other people and expect that they feel the same way about them and act the same way about them. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
So when we're talking about financial literacy in our schools, the need for our young folks, which scares me to death, so many things as having high schoolers myself, but as I was telling you all off the air, what worries me is I see this generation, I'm comparing it to my generation, which may be good or bad because I'm sure that my parents compared me to them. But what does their retirement look like? What does their savings look like for those kids that don't have the advantage of having a parent that has an MBA, has a parent that has access to things and can kind of fill in the gaps for them? But for the children that are growing up in homes that are first-generation college students, that are first-generation high school graduates, whose parents does not have that experience, what do they do? And who's reaching out to them? So I think it's great that you've already started that on your own and doing those great things. But this legislation directly relates to that. Am I wrong?
No, you are absolutely correct. Here's what we know. We know that 95% of the people do not save enough for retirement. We know that 33% of the people in this country do not save anything alone. 66% of all our country is financially illiterate, and 60% of the people, regardless of income level, live paycheck to paycheck. And how could we say this is a good thing, let's please continue on this journey, without changing it? And so the financial literacy bill is meant to empower every child, no matter what school you're in, no matter what income level you're in, no matter what part of life or part of town you live in, it doesn't matter, because every child is going to get something like this that is chosen, the coursework is chosen to tailor to that community. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. One community may need some of this, one community may need some of that, and that's up to the local control of the school boards, the school districts, and the inside the school folks, the principals and the guidance staff and the math department or social studies department to make those decisions. And so this is a true win-win for everybody. And this will empower students to truly understand that they are the CEO of their own life. And it's comes quicker than you know. And working with Mark has been such a blessing because he adds that practical experience with his company that he has, his nonprofit, that as he helps small businesses understand, employees understand these things, that we've really formed a great partnership, and this is how we change the dynamic in Delaware, is by allowing this to happen.
Give me a little bit of, for the folks at home that aren't sitting in front of their computers, I'm sure we'll have some information about House Bill 203 on the screen, but break it down for them. What does this bill contain?
Well, first of all, let's talk about what the bill's about. Two points. That's it. Mandatory, because we aren't getting it. And the second thing is half credit. So half credit course spread over from 9th grade to 12th grade in any semester at any point in time. That's what the mandate is. The second part of that, what do they get? Learning about savings, learning about insurance, learning about investing, learning about mortgages. They're learning about philanthropy. Let's talk about the way that you live your life every day, and every day you make purchases. Every purchase you make or thought of purchase you make involves, how can I get there? Do I have the savings or the money to get there? And if I don't, how can I pay for it in a way that's not going to hurt my situation, my financial situation, or my family or my community? And this course is designed to give you the answers to that. It's not the end of the journey. It's let's get started, let's give you some meat on the bone, and then hopefully by understanding all these things, you'll become a better citizen, a better person with your responsibilities to your family and to your friends and to your community. And also you're going to be a better entrepreneur, a better business person, and even maybe a better employee. And so this helps Delaware grow, this helps families grow, this could maybe interrupt some of the cycle of poverty and really empower everyone to raise the level, raise the boat.
Jeff, let me ask you a question. Why do you think this needs to be legislation? So, I mean, some school districts may say, oh, well, we already have economics courses for our high school students, and we have this for our high school students, and some communities may have some things already going on. But when we feel that it needs to be legislation, that's a very solid stance,
yes.
Right?
Well, Kerwin, here's what I found. When I'm new to the legislature and I say, well, this is a good idea, and so I started researching. And in 2018, we had a financial literacy task force. And so that set curricular standards and gave a pathway for K through 12 to get this job done.
Right.
And largely, it has been ignored. And maybe ignored is a strong word. It has been pushed to the side by other things and other priorities. And so this hasn't been a priority. So since the statistics and the information are so powerful, for example, if you are a child of color and you receive a free lunch or a free breakfast, you have less than a 6% chance of getting this information anytime in your school career.
So that's a very strong statistics.
Absolutely.
You can't lie about the numbers. Well, you can lie about the numbers. People do it all the time. But I think that it's directly related, and I hope that our viewership grasp that so many of those areas, especially in Newcastle County, in the city of Wilmington where we're sitting at, areas down in Sussex County and Kent County, those are big circles, right, of towns that this is directly affecting. And I think the numbers are very clear that they have less than a 6% chance of grasping. So if they can't grasp the information unless they get the information, and what I like to call the trajectory of their lives in regards to making financial decisions are directly related onto this data that they will not have access to.
Kerwin, honestly, I've lost sleep over this. What keeps you up at night? If that question is asked, and it's a famous question now, what's it that keeps you up at night? This is something that keeps me up at night. How dare we not say that this is necessary? How dare we put process in front of progress and say, oh, I'm sorry, this can't work because of this. No, fix it.
Right.
Fix it.
Right.
Let's get down to work here. Roll up your sleeves. My feeling is that we pay highly paid executives for a reason. And we have highly paid executives, they're called superintendents and principals in the schools, to implement things that are going to make a difference. We educate the public. That's what the charge of the public school is. It's in the Constitution, Article 10, Section 1, that says there must be cooperation between the school boards, the administration, and the public. 91% of Delawareans in a public policy poll, independent public policy poll, 91% say this is urgent. Not just a good idea. This is urgent. I've spoken to thousands of people all over the state of Delaware, and I ask them purposefully, do you think Jeff's got it wrong here? Is there something like that I'm missing? Is this a good idea? 100% say yes. Who gets 100% of everything? And then here's the follow-up question by almost every group I speak to. How could we not be doing this now?
Right.
How could we be robbing
what's
our
the
kids?
deficit that's preventing us from, in a global economy, right? And that's what we're also dealing with here, is a global economy where our youngsters are competing with other countries, with other continents, in a time where, I can't put it any better, every dollar counts in regards to keeping America first. And if we're not providing the necessary education for our youngsters, the following generations, to prepare for that, I don't think that we're doing justice for us as Americans and future generations.
I couldn't agree any more with you. This is critical. Here's what we know. 30% of Delaware high school graduates are proficient in math. It means 70% are not. 41% are proficient in English. Here's the kicker. We graduate over 85% of the kids. How is that possible?
How are we doing that?
How are we doing that? And so if we get kids motivated and talking to, like Mark and I have done, talking to people who teach this, they are motivated. The kids lean in. They want to know this. They understand this. And whenever we empower these folks to understand that they have choices, and when they make intelligent choices that are proven to be fact-based choices, not just, well, it's a good idea to get this. No, here's the things you need to know. Here's the playbook. Here's the playbook. You can't play a football game without a playbook. And so we give them that opportunity to empower and move forward. That is just so powerful. It'll change their life. It'll make us better students. And I believe it'll make Delaware's economy better because we'll have better employees. And I believe it'll make the state better, and we will become competitive again.
So the several things that I like about this is, and you touched on it briefly, is that when we're dealing with school districts right now, and it's no secret, we're a very blue state, okay? I don't have to tell you that. We are dealing with this word of equity, especially in our schools, right? God forbid anything is not equitable, that we're not doing the right thing. And I as a person of color, I think that it is very important and it needs to be brought up. But I don't think that we can truly talk about equity in education when our education is preparing our youngsters for what is next in their lives if we're not bringing financial literacy to the forefront. If we're not bringing financial literacy to the forefront of the conversation in the classrooms, then are we truly being equitable? I put that in a philosophical equation there, if and then. But from the legislative side, is that what you're trying to fix?
Absolutely. And here's, when I did the research, here's what I found. In 2021, the NAACP made this a priority and did a resolution that said, we must have children of color get this education. There was a resolution that was passed by their board, and it still stands today. And so this isn't just an idea. Everybody realizes this. And so now we're implementing this, and some people are saying, I don't think that's a good idea because you're stepping on my parade, and you're hurting me. You know, you're stepping on my toes. You're telling me what to do, and I don't like it. And my thought is, I don't know how a small group of people, like 19 school executives, can stand in the way of the progress of 1 million people. I just don't understand that. And also, you know, the folks that work in the DOE folks, they really have not offered solutions to, you know, or even negotiation points. It's been, let's start at no and back it down from there.
Well, I thank you for your candor. That's the whole part of the agenda here, is to know who is on the agenda and to make sure that our viewers are on the agenda and that their issues are being brought up and discussed. And when they are not, we bring that to the forefront. So when you're telling me that, yeah, there has been some reluctance from our educational professionals,
Absolutely.
There has been some reluctance from the bureaucracy at State Hall in regards to how to administer this, and has been just frankly pushback. Our viewers need to know that.
Well, I will also tell you, though, that this is bipartisan.
I noticed that.
This is not just Jeff. There have been folks from both sides in both houses saying, wait a minute. In fact, I tried to get an appointment with a senator, and sometimes that's a struggle, really. And so I asked my legislative assistant, please get an appointment for me with him, because he's a powerful guy, and I need to get him on board if I can. And he said, no, I'm not going to talk to you.
About this legislation?
Yes, but here's the reason why. I'm 100% on board. Spend your time with somebody else. I'm good.
Okay.
I went, wonderful. Thank you, Senator Pardee. That was, I'll give him a nod there.
Right.
And so, you know, he read the bill, understands it, gets it. And there are others that have jumped on. Former Speaker Pete Schwarzkopf, big advocate.
The person sitting next to you, registered Democrat.
That's right. And
Came in with a Republican.
there we go. Like the fourth meeting we had, you know, we're sitting there and talking about this, and he goes, I got something to tell you. I said, okay, what? He said, I'm a Democrat. Okay, this conversation's over. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I said, thank you.
It's a purple bill. It definitely
yeah,
is.
it really
This
is.
a
It
purple
really is.
I don't want to get too far down this rabbit hole without talking about yourmoney101.org, what you're bringing to this bill, and what your program does.
So financial literacy is really what I'm focused on. Advocate, educate, and mentor. I've been mentoring and educating people for years, mostly employees of companies, including my own. So I retired a couple of years ago from Info Solutions, a company I co-founded, to focus more on my nonprofit, which I started in 2015. And how I got started was the employees, they were stressed. A couple employees were stressed, and I tried to figure out why. And I asked them, and they said, I found out that they had financial difficulties. And that's where I learned this is not just an income issue. This is an education issue. And it's normally expenses that drag down the person, right? So we focus education on income and generating income. But we're missing the boat if we're not teaching students about how to manage that income, how to manage their expenses. And that's key. So that's how I got involved. I ended up connecting with Jeff, and he has been tirelessly working on this. You know, and you need somebody in legislation to make this happen, and it needs to happen.
Right. So tell us, how can we find out more information about your organization?
You can go to yourmoney101.org, but more importantly, go to housebill203.org, and you can sign a petition. You can send an email to your legislative person, and learn more about what the bill is all about.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's great. I mean, you're tag teaming, you're getting this done, sir. Tell us a little bit more about the opposition that you faced in regards to this.
Well, initially, when I made it through the Education Committee, the way that happened was that the chairman of the Education Committee and some of the members on the in the committee said, the bill has flaws, and I said, okay, and so we'll pass it with the idea that you will not ask this to be brought before the House for a vote before you work on it. And I said, not a problem. So I spent the summer on a listening tour and a speaking tour, talking to folks all over the state, everywhere I could, anywhere I could, to raise awareness and actually learn what about the process, about the legislative process more, because I'm new, and also to get feedback on how we can make the bill stronger. So the two critical parts have not changed, but I've made 14 changes in the bill. 14 changes in the bill based on recommendations from the public, from legislators, and from other concerned citizens that say, Mark says, maybe you could look at this a little bit. Sure. When you get focused on something, sometimes it's nice to have others say, hey, like on line 15 here, what do you think about maybe this? Okay, yeah, I like that too. And there's no reason not to include something like that. So that's what happened. And then since then, I've been talking to everybody and anybody. And Mark has tag teamed with me. He has met with senators and representatives, and he's talked to the school boards. He's talked to, as I have, and administrators, as I have. And so we've been tag teaming a lot, and we notice that the resistance is always the same, no matter if Mark's talking to him or if I'm talking to him, or if somebody else who's a supporter is talking to these folks, they always are resistant. And so my strategy has always been let's focus on the top, focus on the bottom, and we'll meet in the middle. Right. And so the low-hanging fruit has been the public. And the reason for that is this is such a common sense thing that everybody says, how could we not have this really? And 100% again have said, this is yes, absolutely, even when I ask them, am I on the wrong track in some way? And there are good people doing great things now. Many schools have this. In fact, Next Gen Personal Finance and University of Delaware CEEE, the Center for Economic Education and Entrepreneurship, they have teamed up and trained 160 teachers already who are ready to go with this. Many are teaching this subject and many want to. And they say, wow, let's go. And the Next Gen has offered scholarships to the teachers, not to the schools, not to the school district, not to anybody. Write a check, Mrs. Teacher, Mr. Teacher, to them to get this education, which ends up in cooperation with the Federal Reserve in Philadelphia. How cool is that?
That's awesome.
That is so awesome.
With so many things going in the direction of positivity in regards to this legislation, now I'm going to put my conspiracy theory hat on for the folks at home because they can't call in. Not right now. But do you believe that better yet, let's back up. What's the incentive for not educating our people? Is it because now we can charge them higher interest rates? Or are we getting pushback from banks to say, can they continue to make bad decisions? Because let's be honest, their bad financial decisions make someone else a tremendous amount of money.
The Bankers Association, Delaware Bankers Association, support us.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's not the issue. It's, and I try and take a step back and look at things objectively. And there's a lot on people's plates. I get that. The thing that I take away from this is, who's this in the best interest of? It's in the best interest of the student. And I would say the second person that gets really a lot of benefit from this is the teachers. Every teacher I speak to, they love teaching it. not because their students are engaged. That's part of it. They learn something too, without a doubt. Right? The thing is what we're trying to do is teach blocking and tackling, foundational information, so that you can build on it, because you never stop learning. I'm decades into my life. I continuously learn about personal finance. But if we don't get that foundation, the future is not bright.
And just having a firm grasp, and I don't assume I know that your bill and your education will include this, but do our students now, which I already know the answer is no, understand the complexities of compounded interest?
For the most part, no.
What one of the in the second part of my two section thing on that 30,000-foot view of financial education, I asked them, who thinks in this room you can be a millionaire? And then maybe one or two kids kind of raise their hand up like this, and the other kids catcall them out. Get out! You can't do that. And I said, wait a minute. I'm gonna give you the key right here today to do this, and everyone can do this. And then I show them some graphs and some things about compound interest, and we go through an exercise, and here's where a problem is. I would say over half the kids, juniors and seniors, don't know how to calculate
Compounded interest.
compound interest.
Right.
That is so sad.
And how that affects the decisions from everything that they do.
Well,
Everything.
and think about it, though. So we're talking about the income piece, the investment piece. It's double the compound for the debt piece.
For the debt piece.
Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that's the part that, and I'm a huge fan of, we need to understand debt.
Absolutely.
If a student can learn anything about personal finance, or adults can learn anything about personal finance, understand debt before you take it on.
Yeah.
Mortgage, car loan, anything.
Anything.
Credit card debt. Buy now, pay later. Understand it.
And I think, so you mentioned yesterday was National Savings Day.
Yeah. Financial literacy month.
Financial Literacy Month.
Yeah.
And that was down at the Legislative Hall. That, we were, the bankers were on campus, so to speak. But I find it very hard to celebrate their agenda if we're not dealing with this compounded interest cloak that's over so many Americans right now. That being said, people say, oh, well, we have freedom of choice. You don't have to take that loan. You don't have to do this buy now, pay later nonsense. But if you have children that you need to put shoes on, and Nike has on their website an option for you to pay over time, and then has granted you, because just because they have the option doesn't mean that you're approved for it, but you then get the dopamine hit of actually being approved, and it allows you to relax, and then, but they're saying it's 33% or 44% on the parent.
And let's not forget about the algorithms that are behind the scene,
right,
enticing you and saying, I need this. I have to have this.
I need this. Yeah. And over your social media network and what have you, you're getting socks.
Yep.
Now you're getting, gym shorts and all these other things. And they figured out through an algorithmic equation what it is that your family needs.
Absolutely.
Right? So when I see bankers in our capitals, and I'm not against the banking community. I think that's what makes America strong. I think besides our defensive power, our economic power is just as great and is necessary in order to keep America first in this global economy. Again, the agenda is not against banking. But if you want to be ahead within the United States and keeping America first, you need to understand the importance of an educated constituent, an educated citizen, and how better we are if we're not under the cloaks of debt. So unless, I'm getting around to my point, unless when you're on the Capitol steps, you're having those conversations first, me as a voter, I'm not impressed, especially if you're standing next to them and you're not having that conversation.
No. What this all boils down to is that as adults, we are tasked to educate the next generation in a way that will make them healthy and successful, healthy financially and successful. give them the tools in the toolkit. But here's the reality is, they have no vote. They have no voice. They have no say, really, in what their education is. So it takes people who are thinking about the future, not the future like tomorrow, but the future tomorrow, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years down the road. What are we equipping these children with to make a difference in their life, in the life of their family, in the life of their community? And if we're not doing that, we are failing. We're violating the Constitution of the state of Delaware. We are failing, and that needs to change now.
And not only are we failing, we're doing so in a way that we know that we are.
Absolutely.
It's okay
Absolutely.
to fail if you don't know that you're failing or you're doing something wrong. But when you're making a conscious decision to not educate our students and prepare them for a global economy, I would have to agree with you.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 1 year, we're talking about 5 years, we're talking about 6 months from now. I try to stay in the present as much as we can, but we have to look into the future. Tell me, sir, what does next year look like if you had a crystal ball, magic 8-ball? What do you want to happen?
Well, on April 23rd of this year, I want this bill, and I'm hoping the people that we've lined up to support this bill are going to continue to support it, and it will pass the House. And then it moves to the Senate, and we have to kind of start a little bit over because their process is a little different than it is in the House. And when we get that, then the governor has to sign it. The governor has made no indication that he's for this. I've talked to him twice about this, and he is not for this at this point. That doesn't mean he won't be. And in fairness to Governor Carney, I have not spoken with him probably in 3 or 4 months about this bill. So
did he give you any feedback on why he is not
local control? Local control. That's what he said. And then I said to him, I answered that with all the points that are in the bill about local control. And also protecting the teacher's time and stuff. So we put a bunch of stuff in there, and that was due to the listening tour that I did this summer. Mark was by my side. We separately or together, we were all over the place, listening, collecting data, having conversations, weekly conversations, and then in a group setting every other week. With national leaders even on this topic to make sure we're going to get this right. 25 states have passed this. We're going to be number 26. And I'm convinced of that because we have really almost 1 million people behind us. Mm-hmm. And that's a fact. And we have to remember, now we took an oath. And the oath says the power, if there is any power, is derived from the people, not from, specifically in the oath, not from personal interest or special interest. If we hold to that oath, 19 people and a few people in DOE cannot, must not, and should not stand in front of the will of 1 million people, period. So you ask me what happens next year? We give them another year. The bill's written so that they have another year to get this going. And then it starts. It's mandatory. And the kids starting in 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade in 2026 will start to get this education.
Representative Olazagasti, thank you very much for being on the show.
I appreciate your time so much, and thank you, Kerwin, for the wonderful questions.
Jeff, thank you very much. I want your program to be successful as well. I think you two have a dynamic team here. And what I love about the team is you are putting Delawareans first and ensuring that all people in the state of Delaware, all students in the state of Delaware, and especially those that are high schoolers making very difficult decisions, not just financially, but just in life, are well educated in doing so, and you're knocking down any barriers that are preventing people from doing that. So, gentlemen, well done. Continue the good work. I look forward to this being successful, and if you ever need a voice, you have one right here on the agenda. And for you at home, I'm always trying to make sure that your voice is being heard, and there was no exception today. Please take a look at House Bill 203. Talk to whomever that you need to about it at your schools or even your district superintendent or Board of Education to ensure that this legislation moves forward. Thank you again for tuning in to the agenda. We look forward to seeing you next week right here on DETV.